going to just pick up. We'll begin with day 3, and we'll start with the Ryanair chase. And I know while you're making your cup of tea there, Harry, we leave you for the moment. But Brian Flanagan, the Ryanair chase again. Rachel Blackmore has a great chance of getting off the mark here with that Plutarch. But you know, she's obviously going to have to do it the hard way again with Min, a horse that she's had plenty of experience of in the past.
Yeah, and Froden, of course, who won it last year.
And Froden.
Bridie Frost, who gets on particularly well with that horse. It's a very good race, the Ryanair. Min has been a bit of an unlucky horse throughout his career. He keeps on running into horses better than him, but maybe someday the cards might fall for him. He probably produced his career best performance over his trip at Liverpool last year. I think A Plutarch will win though. I think he's a really good horse. I think his performance in the novice handicap last year was sensational. Like, I mean, how he must have been like, geez, he just absolutely bolted up. Like, a long time since I've seen a horse to win so easy at Cheltenham. Now, and obviously this is a different ball game, but you know, Froden and Min, they could take each other on for the lead. Froden likes to be in front. Kind of got things his own way last year with Bridie Frost dictated the pace. You know, I think that mightn't happen this year, and I think A Plutarch could be one of the bets in the meeting now, I think, in this race.
Yeah, it is an interesting race, Gary, isn't it? I mean, as Brian said, Froden winner of the race last year, and we've got obviously the new kid in the block with A Plutarch, who effectively, you know, has done absolutely nothing wrong. Was very impressive again, winning at the festival last year, and again another horse in the Cheveley Park colours.
Exactly. I mean, A Plutarch's got a lot going for him, Dennis, and I actually think this year Henry de Bromhead could have a really big week. I know we were talking about Honeysuckle earlier on, and Notebook, and usually at Cheltenham we were talking about Willie Mullins, Gordon Elliott, Nicky Henderson. They're the big three, but I actually think if everything went his way this year, Henry could at least get up there and break up maybe the triumvirate, if you like, of those three lads. But I just think, as far as this race is concerned, A Plutarch is a very, very worthy favourite. The one I'd give a good mention to, though, is a horse called Riders on the Storm. Now, a lot of people don't fancy him because he was going to get beaten by a 50-1 shot when that horse fell at Ascot the other day. But I think, largely speaking, he's been really, really progressive since he went over to England. They got him for 50 grand, which has turned out to be a right bargain. He's won probably 3-4 times that already. And the only reason he was going to get beaten the other day, Sam Twiston-Davies said it himself, he went up to take on Surname, who was an odds-on favourite, and Surname was having an off day. There was no real need to do it, and he ended up just leaving himself a sitting duck for the horse that was going to come and beat him. It all worked out in the end. He still won, so he's 3 out of 3 now for Nigel Twiston-Davies. A little bit of a worry that he had a harder race than ideal so close to the Cheltenham Festival, but I do think he's a real progressive up-and-coming horse. He's settling a little bit better than he used to as well when he was trained over here, and I think he was actually anti-post favourite, if not favourite on the day for the race that Plutarch won at Cheltenham last year. So he's always had plenty of ability, and look, if that race at Ascot doesn't leave a mark, I think he could have a real shout in this. So Plutarch will be a real tough nut to crack. I'm not sure Min is maybe operating at quite the level this season that he was last time around, so I go with Riders in the Storm each way here.
I see you under the scarf there in the audience, is that it? Yeah, man there in the middle. It's possible, Andy, that Undeso could have perhaps his last hurrah at Cheltenham in this race?
Yeah, I presume he definitely does go for the Ryanair.
No, the owners want to go for the Queen Mother.
Yeah, do they?
Yeah, Champion Chase.
Any inside information on that? The Ryanair, right? Okay.
Yeah, like I just think the Champion Chase looks so good that this might be a better option for him. I think he'd have a chance in that. He's a hugely admirable horse under so. I mean, for a fella, he's very hard on himself. He's an aggressive way of running, but geez, he wears his heart in his sleeve and he gives 100% time after time after time. But I love A Plutarch. You know, you say horses who take the tracks. A Plutarch absolutely loved Cheltenham last year, put in a sensational performance around there, jumped and jumped and jumped. So I'm definitely in the Absolute Tar camp. I'm going to vouch for him. The one little worry I would have is that he likes to be ridden handy, and a shitload of these like to be ridden handy, and it's going to be run at a very hard pace, and might just something little settle there and drop in, might run above themselves.
Yeah, it's a fascinating race, Davy, and as you know, obviously Min in there, who knows, it's probably Min, you know, I don't know whether this is the target, and obviously 2.5 would appear to be Min's trip. Obviously he was 5th in the champion chase last year, but came out and won the John Durkin this year over 2.5. So you've Min in there, but it could turn out to be a battle between England's finest lady rider and Ireland's finest lady rider.
Yes, there's nothing as a jockey. So getting back to, I have to concur with everything everybody said, and Gary said more or less what Andrew said, that it could be a finisher and that could be Riders in the Storm. The only worry is he got very upset at the festival last year and ran wild free and fell, which is not ideal, but he's in different camp now and he seems to be running much better. I rode in the race that he won in Ascot, the time his penultimate win, and he absolutely bolted up, and the horse I rode went on to be second off top weight in a 2-mile handicap around Leopardstown. He's a good solid form. He's a good horse. I don't think he's as good as the favourite, and I think the favourite will win. I mean, I was told that they were disappointed with the way they changed tactics with Min last year. They dropped him in a bit, and they were disappointed they'd done it. I think they're going to revert back to the way they normally ride him, good and positive. And you'll have to agree with Andrew, there's going to be plenty of pace on, which will suit Riders on the Storm to be a finisher, but I'm going with the favourite. I think he's rock solid.
When this race first came into being, obviously people were saying it's kind of, you know, it's a catch-all for those who are, you know, too slow for the faster race and too fast for the slower race, but it's turned out to be a fantastic contest, the Ryanair, hasn't it, Davy, over the years?
Yeah, it's a very good race. It has a place at the festival. These horses are entitled to have their championship. I don't think, well, a Plus Dad wouldn't be out of the frame in a Queen Mother. I don't think he'd win it. But saying that, he did beat the horse that's high up in the betting, so you know he would be definitely a contender for a Queen Mother. But to say that there is a place for these middle distance horses.
Would it be a fair thing to say that, like, there is a huge difference between a 2-mile champion chaser and a 3 miles 2.5 or a Gold Cup horse?
As we found out with Altor, you know, they're in them niches for a reason, because you know they just don't. They're completely miles apart. The one extraordinary horse was Crater Star. Yeah, he was the real deal. You know, I suppose we won't appreciate him until we're all kind of
one thing the Queen's over 2 miles and one Gold Cup's over.
That's right.
Over 3.25. An incredible horse, but my favourite horse of all time, actually. Gavin, what's your view of the Ryanair? It's a terrific little contest, isn't it?
Yeah, well, normally I would say that the Thursday at Cheltenham was probably the weakest day, but last year was the best day between the Stayers and the Ryanair. This year I'd say it's going to end up a very small field, maybe 7 or 8 runners. Min, I think, is an official rating of 171, and Plutarch is 165, so you'd imagine Min should be favourite, but Min has been to Cheltenham 3 times and seen Altior's behind 3 times, which I suppose most horses have. I'd go for Plutarch. It won the novice handicap, as we said last year, 145. Obviously, this is much higher than that. But
speaking of ratings, I mean, Frodon is rated £3 higher, so obviously at the prices, one is nearly twice the price of the other.
Yeah, I think Frodon got a freebie last year. As Andrew says, I think Frodon and Min could take each other on, and Plutarch could sit in behind. I think Rachel would come late and beat the two of them. So I'd be for the favourite, but I think it'll be a bigger price on the day.
And Rob, you've got a price boost on Plutarch to win the Ryanair. You might tell us about that?
Yeah, 3-1. I know we didn't talk about the bumper, but we're 5-2 appreciated as well. But yeah, he's going to be one of the better fancied Irish horses over the week. And I suppose if Chack and Poursois won the champion chase 24 hours before, that gives him a much better chance. So yeah, if Gav's right and it comes down to 7 or 8 runners, maybe this is the time to back an outsider, something like Duke de Genève, who might run in this Real Steel, something like one of Willie's bigger outsiders might be a bit of value.
In most circumstances, would you please advise anybody to run back Duke de Genève in a Ryanair? No chance. No
I'll
chance.
take that back, so.
Robert, while we have you there, you mentioned appreciated in the bumper, and appreciated is what, 2 to 1, and you're doing a price boost on.
He's 30 days across the board. We're 5 to 2. I asked Gav, what's better, 5 to 2 appreciated or 2 to 1 Envoy Allen? What did you say?
It doesn't matter, they both win. Tiger Roll appreciated and Envoy Allen.
But like 13 to 8 for a horse in the Cheltenham bumper. I mean, he must be the second coming, is he?
Just his form was very solid. At Christmas he won a 2.5 mile bumper, which probably turned people off a bit, but I hand timed it that day from the second last, which is 3 furlongs out, and even though he'd done a half mile extra and he carried 12 stone, he done it in 43 seconds. Abracadabras was 48 seconds, carrying 11.10, and even the handicap hurdle that Joseph's horse won, the Might Last Flyer, who only carried 10.9, that was 49 seconds. So he was very, very fast at Christmas. He wins the Grade 2 at the Dublin Racing Festival very easy. It doesn't look the greatest bumper in the world. Fernie Hollow, a stable companion, they rode it different the other day, they held it up. That may be a danger, but he wears a hood and he's a bit keen.
Based on Davy's theory about horses that lose their head before they get down to the start, Fernie Hollow is, I would imagine, fits into that category, Davy.
Yeah, but he done the opposite. He done the opposite last year. Patrick actually had to give him a shove early on, so they might have found the key to him.
He seems to be he seems to be a horse with plenty of ability. There's no question.
Man, he's ability, that horse. He is a very, very good horse. He's a strong travelling horse. I was actually surprised that they've never made a run with him. I thought he was nailed on to jump out the other day and make the run with him. They done the opposite to typical ones. They
do the opposite to what you
expect, and successfully, if you know what I mean. So he looks very good. Gordon is a nice filly in it.
What's her name?
Big Man Beautiful, is it? She gonna run?
No, she's not qualified, as far as I know, because of her age or how many runs. The filly that won in Gorn, Queensbrook, and. Look, I wouldn't go on about it too much.
But 13 to 8, like for, it seems a very skinny price, Gary.
He's
that good, is he?
Well, he's that far ahead of them at the on what we've seen. So you're just waiting for something to improve. And if there's something in there, that's the only reason.
But it could be Fernie Hollow. It could be his biggest danger.
It could be, yeah. I think Patrick will be riding the other horse down.
I don't think you get off appreciated.
No.
Gary, what's your view on the bumper? I mean, obviously, horse Gordon's mentioned there. Is there anything else that there's a bit of chat for?
I don't know about chat for anything, Dennis. Outside of the ones we were talking about there, the Irish horses don't look great, and I haven't seen some of the top English horses. The only one I did see was the one that was trained by Willie Mullins and was sold to go to Pipes, Panic Attack, and you'd have to think to yourself that if Willie Mullins wanted to hang on to that horse, he could have held on to it.
She actually they carry 11 stone,
11.4. She gets a stone. I'm nearly sure she gets a stone. I think she carries 10.4 in the bumper.
So she's got a stone advantage on the rest.
She's only the boys.
Yeah, I think they sold her privately, didn't they? So unless they sold her without, the owner sold her without telling Willie Mullins, it's hard to believe that Willie would have let her go if he thought she was worth hanging on to for one of his big owners. So, and she's second or third favourite, I think, at the moment. So that would give you the idea that there isn't much depth. But that mare of Gordon Elliott's that won in Gorham that Davy mentioned there, Queensbrook, I thought the initial idea was that she wasn't going to go to Cheltenham, but if she did pitch up, she'd definitely be one with a place chance.
It's extraordinary, Gary, when you consider that both Gordon and Willie could have north of 50 horses going to a Cheltenham festival, and when you consider, like, you don't have to go back too long to think that we'd be lucky to have had 50 runners at all over the course of a festival, and going back to the mid-80s, we'd be lucky to get a winner of any sort.
That's right, yeah, I'm sure plenty of people here remember Galmoy. Actually, he kept the show on the road back in the 80s, and there was one year, as you say, we didn't have a winner at Cheltenham at all. Obviously it was only 3 days then, but just the two of them are obviously the powerhouse yards in this country, and it's only Nicky Henderson in England who's really of a kind of comparable level to them in terms of. I wouldn't even imagine he'd have anywhere near that numbers, really.
We haven't spoken about Paul Nicholls' horse.
He's a lot of quality though gone to the festival this year, Nicky Henderson. But just speaking of England versus Ireland, the one race that the English seem to have a monopoly on in this festival, Gary, is the Stayers Hurdle. And in terms of the horses at the top of the betting, and obviously Paisley Park, who beaten in his last 7 starts, sets the standard and will be very hard to beat again.
Oh, he will of course, Dennis. And look, how can you knock a horse who just wins every time like he does? It's his race to lose. The only thing that could change it, you'd imagine, is if Benny Dijo does pitch up here. And as I said earlier on, if she did, I'd definitely have a few with not each way, and I'd back her to beat him, to be honest, because I think with the £7 allowance and the fact that she'd be running over probably her optimum trip, and that she's in the form of her life, this could be her chance maybe to take on the top dog, if you like. The rest of them, they're much of a muchness, aren't they? Champ is a chaser these days. Somerville Boy, he's not good enough to beat Paisley Park, we know that already. Emma Tom won the other day, but wouldn't be, in my book, in the same league as Paisley Park. City Island's the only one that maybe could come up to that sort of level, but again, like his price, he was 16-1 not that long ago. He's 10-1 tight now. So look, it's a no bet race for me, Dennis. I'd watch Paisley Park if you're doing a few accumulators, whatever. I'm sure he'll be an anchor leg for a lot of people. But Benny Dijo goes into this, it changes everything. Not alone does it make it a fantastic race, a fantastic spectacle. It makes her a bet for me too.
Yeah, absolutely. Andy, your view on the race, I mean, obviously there's not a whole lot more really you can say about it. I mean, Gary has kind of summed it up there.
Yeah, if Benny Dijo doesn't run, it's a bad race. There's very little to take on Paisley Park, I would imagine. Paisley Park reminds me a lot of Big Bucks. Looks like he's not doing a stroke, and next thing the race is all over, he's going to piss in. You know, how many times did you see Big Bucks turning in Cheltenham, getting a nudge, and then for 100 yards he picks up, puts the race to bed, and then he idles away again. Paisley Park does the exact same thing, and it's very hard to know how much better he is than the horses he's taken on, because he only does the bare minimum. So he's obviously a very talented horse, and he's definitely better than any of the other rivals. The only one who can give him any run for his money is Benny Dijo if she lines up, and if she lines up, she's every chance of beating him.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. But you know, Paisley Park, it's a great story there. Small yard, Emma Lavelle, and obviously the owner being Gemmell. Andrew Gemmell. He's blind, so again, it would be a very popular home victory if Paisley Park was to go on and win the Stayers. But it's interesting you mentioned Big Bucks of Paul Nicholls. I remember one day we were doing some filming over in Paul Nicholls' yard, and I looked into Big Bucks, and his box, he basically had worn a path around his box. He was the most extraordinary box walker you've ever seen. He literally would walk and walk, and he would actually make you dizzy looking at him. And I said to Paul Nicholls, does it not concern you that maybe he's using up an awful lot of energy walking around his box? And Nicholls said, I couldn't give a fuck what he does in his spare time. True story. Anyway, we're going to move on to the Marsh Novice Chase, which was the JLT, Davy, and again another another Cheveley Park horse here in Allaho, and they have 3 or 4 favourites Cheveley Park at the festival this year, but Allaho was second to Easy Game in the beginners chase at Leopardstown at Christmas, and he caught the eye that day though.
Yeah, I tried to follow him in Fairyhouse on a respectable enough horse in Milan Native, and I couldn't get next or near him at any stage of the race, to be honest. And he's a very talented horse. I think he's improving from jumping. He's jumping improved from his first run to his second run dramatically, and I'd say he'll improve again come Cheltenham. He does sit into the bridle plenty. He's quite keen without being silly, you know. So that's why there's mentions of him dropping back and trip rather than going the 3 mile route. If he goes to this and Manalendo, then there's a certainty in the 3 mile. I think this horse will win this race for sure.
it wouldn't. The only the one horse that you would say that I have a liking for is Mr. Fisher. I think he's quite a good looking horse. He was a useful hurdler, a graded winner over hurdles, and has taken well to fences. I'd say he may have found a little bit of improvement over fences. So it's a hard one to call, but I do think Mr. Fisher is not without his chance. I'm not sure about Sam Crow if he goes here or not, and. Bring up a storm, you're going into the teens for the rest of them, what's going to run in it. So I'd be confident that if Allaho does run here. Now Itchy Feet is not a bad horse either now, I must say. It is not, it wouldn't be a straightforward
third in the Supreme Novices last year.
He was, and he's a Grade 1 winner over fences, and on his second start, which is not an easy thing, he went from a Mickey Mouse race straight into graded company and was successful, which is not an easy thing to do. And he done it, and you know, you'd have to respect him for it.
Yeah, it's interesting in the RSA and you know the JLT. I mean, you know, there's lots of ifs, buts, and maybes, and we don't know what's going to run and what. But looking at the two races, I mean, the RSA probably looks the hottest contest of the two, and. We have a favourite there again, a Nicky Henderson favourite in Champ, who was second he was second to Envoy Allen last year. He was just behind you in the Ballymore. Won his first two starts over fences, but fell last time out at Cheltenham when he looked beaten, or looked held, David.
No, I'd say he probably would have won okay the last day. He did fall, not ideal. I was impressed by him, I must say, on both starts around Newbury. He looked like he was, you know, the real deal. I just think that what Manella Endo done at Cheltenham last year, I'm going on that. He was, the first day was again, we went very slow on Gorn and Lorena beat him. That hasn't worked out to be great for him, but he then went to Navan and he beat a horse that subsequently won a Grade 2 in Captain CJ. That form has definitely brought him back up to the level where he was, where people thought he was, and what he done at Cheltenham last year was extraordinary. Like he just completely ran blind free for all of the race and then quickened up the hill. It takes a fair horse to do that. He's a very talented horse. Once again, we're talking about a Henry de Brabant horse, and with a real life chance. Manella Endo is a very good horse. I worry about Allaho. I think the Marsh Novice Chase is a deeper race maybe than it just at first look.
Yeah, they'll sort themselves out. Andy, do you think Faheen will run at the Cheltenham Festival? Do you think it's likely or unlikely?
I think it's likely.
It's extraordinary, isn't it? 12-year-old running in a novice chase. Can't be too many that have done that.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you go? You know, he's come back and he's been an absolute sensation and a hero going novice chasing at this age, and to do what he's done, and yeah, jumps brilliantly. I mean, why wouldn't you go? What are you keeping him for at this stage of his life? And Richie is, you know, he loves going to Cheltenham and having a winner there, and I can't see why this horse wouldn't line up, and he'll go there with a realistic chance. And like, wouldn't it be a fantastic story if he did come and do it? And I think he does have a chance. As Davey says, I probably would see Allaho go for this race over the RSA, and I do really like Allaho as well. Don't see the likes of Fakir Dudare going there, and just, you know, of the rest of the Irish. I think Sam Crow is done for the year. He's been Dave's going to disagree with me here, but for me, Sam Crow was a sensational novice, and you call him a hype horse or whatever. He was that good as a novice hurdler. He was brilliant. And since then, things haven't gone right for him for whatever reason, and he looks a bit like a problem horse. There's something amiss with him, and I'd struggle to see that being rectified come Cheltenham when you're thrown in at the deep end again. So I'd be like, my heart will say Faheen for the Marsh, my head would say Allaho, and the RSA then could be left a weak race. I actually don't like Champ all that much over fences. Davey says he was taken by him. I think there's a hesitancy to the way he jumps. I don't think we spoke about Devi Desoy earlier, like it's that sure-footed confidence that he has, it's foot perfect. I think Champ lacks it, and I could see him under pressure making a couple of mistakes again, and could leave that open for Manella.
David, just a quick word, Davey, obviously on Sam Crow, can he bounce back?
Yeah, he can. He can. He's a very good horse. He had his issues. Don't think the fall in Punchestown done him any good, and I'd say the fall in Fairhouse didn't do him any good either. But he's given him time to recover from it, and Faheen has boosted that form since by winning at Leopardstown. So, you know, I know it's hard to you can only forgive him so many times, but his work is really good. So there is definitely something there.
Okay, well I think if either Sam Crow or Faheen won at the festival, it would be something else. Gary, you might just try and make sense out of both of those novice chases as well. I mean, you know, where do you think horses are likely to line up?
Well, the RSA chase, Dennis, to me is all about Manella Indo. I'd be very, very keen on him in that, and I wouldn't be, to be honest, I wouldn't be too worried about who takes him on. He's one of the most talented horses around at the minute, and I really liked what I saw from him at Navan last time. Navan's a good jumping test, and he made one little mistake, but in the end he was well on top of the finish, and he had a good workout in the end. Captain CJ gave him a little bit of a test, but he was very, very strong at the finish, which is just what you want to see. So I'd definitely be siding with him in the RSA. And in the Marsh, Allaho's a horse who's run well against Manella Indo a couple of times at grade 1 level, and just come up a little bit short at Cheltenham and Punchestown over hurdles last year. If he went for the Marsh, I think that might maybe make sense. You know, if you could put the two of them together but split them up, the form together, I think Manella Indo should win the RSA for me, and Allaho, if he goes to the Marsh, would probably be the one. But he's still, I think, 50-50 to go for the RSA, and if he didn't go for the Marsh, probably the solid one is Itchy Feet. Davey said it there, he won a nothing race first time out, but fair enough, wasn't a strong grade 1, he won at Sandown, but he couldn't do much more than win very easily, and that was after he made a mistake 2 out. So he's obviously a good horse, and I'd say there's a fair bit more to come from him too. But yeah, hopefully Allaho will run in the Marsh, and we can have a few quid and keep the two of them separate. We come back to 2 of them.
3 to 1 Allaho currently for the Marsh, and 4 to 1 Manella Indo. There's a little double for you. 19 to 1 double, is it? 5 4, yeah. Gavin, what's your view on the novice chase? Is there anything there at a big price that hasn't been mentioned that you think might have a squeak in either race?
Not particularly. I think the RSA is a brilliant race, and I think that the JLT or the Marsh is a poor race. Manella Indo has a chance, Champ has a good chance. Copperhead was very impressive, and Ascot in a fast time. It's now got an official rating of 155, so if that doesn't go to the National Hunt Chase, that would have a chance in the RSA. So in terms of having a bet, I definitely wouldn't be having a bet in the RSA. I'd like Allaho if he goes to the Marsh, but he might not, and if he doesn't, you could end up with a small field in that race, and Itchy Feet is definitely the best of them. He's a fine big stamp of a horse, third in the Supremes, he said. Won a 3-horse race in Leicester, and then goes and wins a grade 1, and won it very, very well in Sandown. Jumps very well, as I said, he's a big horse. So I suppose Itchy Feet in the poor race, and the RSA too hard, maybe Copperhead each way.
Okay, Rob, is there any money for anything, or is there anything stirring of any consequence?
No, they've been both very quiet. Obviously, Champ was a lot shorter for this race. I think he was 6 to 4 on places before he tipped up at Cheltenham.
Yeah.
He's probably going to be the one that they're going to come for. We're obviously not going to see him beforehand, but he's obviously named after McCoy, and he's going to be just one of those horses that people will automatically back. But it looks a tough 4, I say. Manella Indo's going to go there, and I suppose a lot will depend on where Allaho goes. The Marsh looks a race that could easily cut up, especially if Allaho goes for the 3 mile. And if you're looking for a bit of value, I suppose Black Op, who's been running against Champ, he was second to him at Newbury today, that Champ nearly ran out. He's got place form at the festival. He's placed behind Sam Crow and the Ballymore. Tom George's horse are flying. I thought he might be a bit of value in the Marsh. That looks like a race that, if you're looking at the betting, 4 or 5 there mightn't run.
And he's a second season novice as well, isn't he?
Yeah, second season novice. They went back to hurdles last season. So yeah, Johnny Burke's going great across the water, so he could have a chance.
Brian, what's your view on the 2 novice chases?
Oh, look, I'm not going to repeat what the lads have said in the RSA and the Marsh, but there is another novice chase at the festival, the 3 mile, 6.5, whatever it's called.
147 yards.
Yeah, that race. And I think Champagne Classic, he's one of my lamps of the week now. I think he's a really, really good horse. He was second to Battle Over Diane, I think today, and Christmas.
It looks on paper a match between him and Carefully Selected.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad about Carefully Selected now. I thought he fell over the line in Nice. I thought Champagne Classic won the Martin Pike, I think, at Cheltenham. I think he won a Grade 1 name Punchestown. He beat Penhill. It's a horse with a lot of class. He beat that Captain CJ that the lads are talking about, the beginners. Hasn't been seen in a while, so maybe that's why he's kind of out of people's minds, but I really fancy him for the 4-miler. Not sure whether it'll be Lisa O'Neill or is Jamie Conroy anymore for Gigginstown, I'm not sure, but probably Lisa O'Neill will be. So I'd fancy him for the 4-miler.
It's a cracking race, Andy, isn't it? I mean, the 3 mile 6 as it is now, the national hunt chase, and it takes a fair bit of getting, and
It says it's 3 miles, 147 yards.
Not that he's counting or anything.
Did you win it?
No, I was second to your cousin, and
Rick Dove and Tim Deary. Sorry, bring that up, Davey.
That's back in the early days.
Yeah, it is a great race. It was a bit of a disaster last year with them all getting suspended and everything. Hopefully it won't be repeated. But yeah, it is. Davey isn't a fan of Carefully Selected, doesn't think he'll jump around, but I said that you wouldn't have fancied Tiger Roll to jump around when he went from it either, and he broke about 3 fences on the way around and still managed to win it. 13.